What's up YouTube? It's AMICUSTOMS here. I'm going to be doing a little how-to video on the A-pillar build for the Black Nasty, so let's get to it. Okay, so here's the A-pillar build for the Black Nasty. It's going to be 2 of the SoundQubed soft dome tweets per A-pillar, and I've got them pointed towards the passenger for the driver's side one, and then the passenger side one towards the driver. And basically what I did here was just cut some rings out of, this is called hardboard, and then stilted them up, glued them in place, cut a hole in each one of the pillars. So that's the step I'm at right now. Once you get to that point, now we're ready to start doing fiberglass work. This is just flannel material here. You can get it at a lot of fabric shops. It really depends on the application, what you're going to use. Sometimes I use t-shirt based material. This is a little bit thicker than a t-shirt. I've used bed sheets before. I've used fleece a lot of times. Just depends on what kind of weight you want to apply here. This is real light. There's not a lot of weight here in these tweeters. They weigh hardly nothing. I mean, maybe a few ounces. And so they're not going to be supporting a lot. Now granted, the truck's fairly loud. There's a lot of pressure in there. So we'll build it up with fiberglass, but the initial mold is what we're after right here. So to attach it to the pillar, I just sanded around each area with some 80 grit paper to give the glue something a little bit better to bond to instead of just going straight to the plastic, because a lot of times a lot of adhesives don't want to stick to this plastic. So I just used CA glue. You can get it like this, came from Hobbytown, an activator, and wear gloves, lay your glue down, stretch the fabric, hold it in place with your gloves, and then hit it with the activator, and it holds it down. You can stretch it and work it all the way around. Now you'll see a lot of these creases and stuff in the piece. It's a real hard corner. The shape is not true. It's not straight edged. So that's just stuff I'll have to work out with body work, but that's not a big deal. Or fiberglass. Just depends on how I want to go with it. So we'll start mixing. And I've seen a lot of people use pigments to add to their resin, so that way they can see how much is being soaked in. It's not a bad idea, but something that's a lot easier to do is just use cream hardener. This is blue like you use for Bondo. You could use red, I guess, if you wanted to. That'll add color and pigment to it, and it also helps activate it a little further. So just a drop of this in the resin and you'll be good to go. So I'm just going to use a foam brush. Got activator. One big key thing I always do is keep track of the temperature. That'll determine how much activator you need to add. This is just something I know from doing it so much. I use polyester based resins. Evercoat's a great brand to use. There's others out there too that work just as well. Around, but I'm going to mix up 6 ounces here. Alright, let's put the cap back on. Okay, so it's 75, pushing close to 80 degrees, so I'm going to use 12 drops per ounce and thoroughly mix it. And then I won't be able to hold the camera to apply the resin at the same time because I kind of need both hands, so I'll have to put the camera down, then I'll shoot an after shot after I get all the resin soaked in. But I'll show you how I mix and activate. So that's about 70 drops or so. There's just a little bit of activator left. Let's go ahead and put the rest in there. It's not an exact science. You just have to work a little bit faster with it. Now let's pop open the cream hardener. And that'll be enough to add color and further activate it. Okay, so now I'll take my brush and I'll just mix it all up. And different types of resin will turn colors when you activate them. Like this Evercoat is that pink color, and then as it starts to get activated, it'll turn a brownish green. And now that I added this blue pigment to it, it'll even turn a really deep green, or almost like a seaweed green. And you want to thoroughly mix up your resin. Like I'll actually dig down to the bottom of the trough, the bottom of the bucket to another little key thing to look for, just to know, is if you look in the bucket, you see all the bubbles coming to the surface. That's a good indication that you mixed it hot enough to where it will actually set up. You added enough activator. Okay, so I got all the resin laid on this first pillar. So you can see it's all soaked in real well. One thing you'll notice, I always keep a temperature gun around. Surface temperature here is 75. You'll notice here on the resin we're upwards 120 degrees in some spots, just depending on where I'm pointing at on it. And what you want to do is you want to wait until this resin actually cools down to room temperature before you actually start sanding it or putting any body filler on it. So that'll be the next step that we do.